Imagine your brain as a high-powered engine. It's designed to solve problems, create art, and build futures. But right now, for most of you, that engine is idling in a dark garage, burning fuel, and going nowhere. Your brain generates approximately 6,000 thoughts every single day. That sounds impressive until you realize the terrifying truth. For the average person, 90% of those thoughts are exactly the same ones they had yesterday and the day before that. Overthinking isn't actually thinking at all. It is the habit of recycling anxiety. It's a loop. It's a mental spiral where you analyze the past until it hurts and rehearse the future until you're paralyzed. You've been told that you're thorough or analytical. I'm here as your mentor to tell you that's a lie. You're simply trapped in a psychological cage of your own making. Yes, I decided to break that cage. I committed to 30 days of zero overthinking, a complete neurological reset. What happened to my brain during those 4 weeks wasn't just a mood shift. It was a total biological transformation. If you feel like your mind is an infinite tab of browser windows that won't close, pay attention. We're about to shut them all down. To stop the spiral, you first have to understand why it exists. Your brain is not bad at focusing. It is operating exactly as evolution designed it. For thousands of years, survival depended on scanning for threats and novelty. In the wild, overthinking, whether that rustle in the grass was a predator, kept you alive. But in 2026, there are no tigers in the grass. The threats are now unread emails, social media comments, and the fear of making a wrong career move. Your brain hasn't caught up to the modern world. It is still using that same high-alert scanning instinct to analyze why your boss used a period instead of an exclamation point in a text. This is the overthinking spiral. It consumes more glucose and mental energy than almost any other cognitive function, yet it produces zero results. You're essentially running a marathon on a treadmill. You're exhausted, you're sweating, but when you look around, you're still in the same room. The first step of my 30-day experiment was realizing that my brain was a victim of its own outdated software. The first week of stopping the overthinking habit was, frankly, a nightmare. When you decide to stop the loop, the silence is deafening. I realized that overthinking was a security blanket, even though it made me miserable. It gave me the illusion of control. If I thought about a problem long enough, I felt like I was doing something about it. Breaking that habit felt like walking a tightrope without a net. During those first 7 days, I felt a physical itch to check my thoughts. My brain would throw a scenario at me, something like, what if that project fails? And my old habit was to catch that thought and spin it into 20 more. The challenge was to let the thought pass without touching it. This is where most people fail. They think that to stop overthinking, they have to stop thinking. That's impossible. You don't stop the thoughts. You stop the recycling of the thoughts. I had to learn to treat my thoughts like unwanted spam emails. See the subject line, but never, ever click open. By the second week, I needed a tool to handle the big decisions that usually triggered my deepest spirals. This is where I implemented the 10-10-10 rule. Every time a thought started to loop, I forced myself to answer 3 questions. How will I feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How will I feel about it in 10 months? And how will I feel about it in 10 years? Most of the things that keep you up at 3 a.m. are 10-minute problems. They feel massive in the moment because of the proximity of the emotion. But when you force your brain to look through the lens of 10 years, the perspective shifts instantly. The tragedy of a misinterpreted comment or a minor mistake at work disappears into the background noise of a decade. This rule is a pattern interrupt. It forces your brain to shift from the emotional amygdala to the logical prefrontal cortex. It stops the fire before it becomes a forest fire. The third major breakthrough of the experiment was the concept of the thinking deadline. We overthink because we believe more information will lead to a better decision, but there is a point of diminishing returns. Research shows that after a certain threshold, more information actually reduces the quality of your decision and increases your anxiety. I started giving myself a maximum of 15 minutes for any non-life-altering decision. Should I take this meeting? 15 minutes. What should I focus on today? 15 minutes. Once the timer hit 0, the decision was final. No second guessing. No what-ifs. I realized that a 70% okay decision made quickly is almost always better than a perfect decision made too late. Over-planning is just procrastination wearing a tie. By forcing a deadline, I forced my brain to prioritize action over analysis. This is how the 1% operate. They don't have better information, they just have a higher bias for action. One of the reasons our brains loop is because they are afraid we will forget something important. Your brain is a terrible storage device, but a great processing unit. When you keep your worries in your head, your brain has to constantly refresh them so they stay in your short-term memory. This is the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency to remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. To stop this, I use journaling as an overflow valve. Every night I would do a brain dump. I wrote down every single recurring thought, every worry, and every what-if on a physical piece of paper. The second that ink hit the page, my brain let go of the loop, and it felt like I had offloaded the data to an external hard drive. I wasn't ignoring the problems. I was just giving my brain permission to stop processing them for a while. If you want to sleep better tonight, stop trying to solve your life in bed. Write it down, close the book, and realize that the paper can hold the weight so your mind doesn't have to. By the third week, the most incredible thing started to happen. The static began to clear. For years, I had lived with a constant background hum of low-level anxiety. I thought it was just part of who I was. But as I stopped the overthinking habit, that hum disappeared. I felt a level of mental clarity I hadn't experienced since I was a child. I found that I could focus on a single task for 90 minutes without my mind wandering to the what-ifs of my life. That my decision-making speed tripled. I was no longer the person who spent 20 minutes deciding what to eat or an hour drafting a 3-sentence email. I was becoming a doer rather than a dreamer. My brain scan, if I were to look at it, would have shown a shift from the chaotic red zones of distraction to the clean, golden light of focus. This is the biological reward for neurological discipline. When you stop wasting energy on the recycled anxiety, you have an infinite supply of energy for your actual goals. You are watching this video and you are likely overthinking whether this protocol will work for you. That is the irony. You have watched 1,000 videos like this, read 20 books on mindset, and yet your life looks roughly the same as it did 3 years ago. This is the implementation gap. And learning without applying is just a more sophisticated form of entertainment. The secret to the 30-day experiment wasn't the 10-10-10 rule or the journaling. It was the action habit. It was the decision to act while feeling the uncertainty. Overthinkers wait for the fear to go away before they start. High performers start while they are afraid. They know that the only cure for overthinking is physical action. Newton's law of inertia applies to your brain. A mind at rest stays at rest, but a mind in motion stays in motion. One physical action, no matter how small, breaks the psychological spell of the loop. As I reached day 30, I realized that I hadn't just changed a habit. I had reclaimed my sovereignty. To overthink is to be a slave to your own impulses and the scanning instinct of your ancestors. And to be decisive is to be the architect of your own reality. My brain is now quieter, but it is also much more powerful. I have more RAM available for creativity because I'm not using it to run background apps of anxiety. This experiment taught me that peace of mind isn't something you find. It's something you build by refusing to participate in the chaos of your own thoughts. You are one decision away from a completely different neurological state. Not one realization, not one aha moment. One decision to stop the loop and start the work. I want to challenge you right now. I don't want you to plan to stop overthinking. I want you to start a 72-hour test. For the next 3 days, use the 10-10-10 rule for every decision you face. Implement a 15-minute thinking deadline. And tonight, before you go to sleep, perform the brain dump on a piece of paper. Comment below, what is the one specific thing you have been overthinking for more than a week? Just name it. By typing it out, you are beginning the process of moving it from your internal loop to an external reality. If you recognized yourself in this video, you need to understand that this is just the tip of the iceberg. I've built a specific roadmap regarding the 7 invisible habits that are actually causing this overthinking in the first place. The hidden triggers you don't even know are there. That video is linked on your screen right now. If you're ready to stop being a spectator in your own mind and start being the creator of your own future, click that video and let's keep building. Subscribe to join the 1% who choose action over anxiety. The clock is ticking. What are you going to do with your 6,000 thoughts today?